the weed business in California. Okay, thing is, we were trying to keep it in, in what we knew.
Uh-huh.
I mean, since it was underground, rock and roll shit, we wanted to be, the law, So we had a collective for years.
Right.
Okay, just a whole bunch of, we're a growing collective. Somebody had some land, put all our scripts together, and grew weed and split it up at the end of the season, and not, there's no sales. It was just, and they were all patients. Come on, by the time it even became a law, we're all becoming elderly people. By the time it was even medical marijuana in 1997, we're already in it. Well, we never formed a legal co-op. We're one.
Right.
The law says you can get together and do it, so we knew what the law was, and we just did it the way the law. You just go out and there's places to grow, and you nail all the scripts down and try to keep it down, and hope they don't decide to bust you or camouflage it good enough. Because a lot of the counties in California, they don't want to see it. They didn't care, but if you threw it in their face, they're going to, if you flaunt it, which tons of people did, you just have to be, they don't want to know about it. And at first they were busting it. I mean, I'm in Northern California where we were before I was. Most of the people that went into medical marijuana were growing it illegally and hiding from the campaigning against marijuana plantations for years, and they were guerrilla growers anyway, so it's just kind of in their blood to kind of not have it right out in the open where they can find it. And the counties didn't respect the law. The counties weren't into it. The cops didn't want it to change. They were used to it. That's their business. So it really 97 when that changed, it really messed with them. They didn't want to respect the law. They wanted to bust you. And then dumb people would, of course, flaunt the law. Just being stupid.
What happened in 97? Was that the medical marijuana?
That's what had happened here in California. Ironically, California was one of the first places to start the marijuana prohibition.
Oh yeah, was it like way back? Like way in the
yeah,
30s
I don't remember when. It was way back. but that was a anti-Mexican thing, Back then, it was all Mexicans that were. Reefer Madness. This is one of the places it started. Even before the feds did it, California made it illegal because they were trying to, legislate against the Mexican population that was here before the gringos.
Right.
I mean, the whole premise of criminalizing weed was racist to begin with, anyway. And then it was just like the 60s, it was the, anti-war, anti-government movement was also happened to smoke weed. It was just very convenient for them to, if they were doing something, if that hadn't coincided, they would have found something else, but it was, something it was conveniently completely illegal. But they didn't pay that much attention to it except for busting blacks and Mexicans and stuff. Right. Before that, they didn't pay any attention to white kids, and they got really alarmed when, in the 60s, when white kids started, when white kids started smoking weed, then it became a problem.
Right, quote unquote.
But when they criminalized weed, the American Medical Association was completely against them, and they hid that up into the 90s from the 30s, and they did every sneaky ass thing and blackmailed all the people that were lobbying for the medical uses of it. The whole idea that that there's no medical use and that scheduling and this that whatever they've got them to say that it's has no medical use, has no basis in history. The American Medical Association didn't even know, it got lost in there until recently, that they had fought so hard to keep it legal because it has so many good uses, medical uses. So, in spite of the old, just being stoned, we discovered all the good stuff that it would do. It's for a lot of type 2 diabetes, for a lot of people, it really helps keep your blood sugar low. You know why though? When the whole thing with getting the munchies,
right?
That's because your blood sugar plummets when you smoke weed. Your blood sugar goes down. So if you eat weed, it's going to make your blood sugar go down. Then you're going to eat everything in the house, but it regulates your blood sugar. That's one of the known things. Keeps your blood pressure down. The thing is they already knew this. It was well established. So any time when they're saying there's not enough evidence medical to prove it, it's already bullshit.
Yeah.
It's ancient. They know any effect that it has been observed. They've seen it. I'm trying to think. The first growers I knew were in Humboldt County. And they were the first growers in Humboldt County. I went to high school in Humboldt County.
Okay.
Miranda. And they started sprouting. I mean, it's all over Humboldt County, but I'm just saying about Humboldt. That's where I was when they started, and I moved away in '69. But I know they were already, when I went back in summer of '70, it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know it's a pretty big scene up there.
But there was already people in Butte County, where I was born, raised, that were growing apparently even before that. And before you ever heard of, in Northern California, before you ever heard of anything in Humboldt, you hear about Butte County homegrown. And there was a huge scene in there a few years before you ever heard of. Humboldt's probably the worst place to grow weed in the world.
Yeah.
Fog. It's foggy. You can only grow it up on the top. It's just, you have to have strains that don't mold. All the coast there. And that didn't stop anybody, but
I think a lot of people are trying to grow in their houses.
They grow up everything, but I'm just saying that the only reason that they were successful is because it's so rugged. Steep canyons. The coastal ranges there are they're not very high, but the canyons are all really jagged, and there's a lot of them.
A lot of places to hide.
And they really overlogged it, so it's really weird terrain where there's just all these broken up forests and stuff. Even most of the redwoods are gone.
Right.
But all the places that people would buy, that people would move in and buy, would be on places that were already just destroyed. So the people there have been rehabilitating it, but I don't know where the fuck they were growing it then. It's the hippie scene. The same, after everyone left San Francisco, they all moved up into Mendocino and Humboldt in mass, and it was just it was a huge migration. '67, right when I started high school there from San Francisco.
So when it finally became recreationally legal, how did that affect any of the collective?
Oh, I don't know. It's hard to say. There's all these big giant corporate businesses that are selling shitty weed, and they're trying to get rid of all the little strains.
Right.
That's the whole thing is weed adapts to whoever's growing it. It just starts, strains occur, new things happen.
Or because you guys are still growing for yourselves, right? Didn't even.
Yeah, no. Our collective is dissolved. Everyone's going to stores next door.
Oh, okay. I see.
There's no. That's. Yeah.
So,
also, we're old.
Right.
It's a hassle. And there's lots of other reasons. It's just doing other things.
Like, what do you think is like the future of like these
I have.
big ass companies coming in?
I don't know. I don't think that they're really. I don't think they really understand it.
Right.
It's a spiritual entity.
Right.
It's got it's a plant. They have plants are like have their own civilizations. Plants live on the earth regardless of us.
It's a life form.
It's a life form that has its own consciousness that we don't recognize. Thank you. That's exactly what it is, and they don't get it. And every attempt to harness these things is only turns on us. Bioengineering stuff, we can't eat it.
Right.
So that's what they want to do is bioengineer it, just like probably want to make Terminator seeds. So my advice to everybody is don't kill the male plants. Keep your pollinate and grow and have seeds. Grow your strains. That's what's happening. We're trying to get land strains of our own that adapted to where right here or wherever we're at. They're going to patent it.
Right. Yeah. People are already doing that with their specific hybrid strains and all this.
Well,
stuff.
but it doesn't last. It's just you don't want don't mix it. No, you got to keep your own strains going because they're going to try to. It's going to turn into corn. It's going to turn into Monsanto. It's going to turn into all that crap. Terminator seeds. You plant them and they die, or they grow and they kill everything else. So, no, that's probably what their future is going to be. But you know what? I don't think that. I think global warming is and all this madness is going to take care of that.
Yeah, well.
I'm not being cynical. Seriously.
Yeah, I know. I know. Like that's why they're making these like, the THC capsules, and they're trying to just like basically pull the chemical compounds out of the plant.
No. The plant, the properties that are medical are in it. Those things, the combinations are what make it. And what makes weed strong isn't the THC, it's the combo of the THC and all those other things that combine to make the psychotropic effects, the medical effects, and they can turn it into one little thing, and it might be really concentrated to do that, but it's not going to do the other things that it does. And everybody should grow their own. Overgrow the government. Fuck the government. Just grow your own. Grow it. Everyone should have weed growing. We can't. It's legal in California, and the feds are so busy selling their shit out to the Russians or whatever they're doing. They don't really seem to care anymore. They want to cut. They can't afford to chase us all down like they used to.
Right.
I mean, Humboldt County, Mendocino County, the feds targeted in massive ways. They just take over schools. I graduated from 8th grade in Trinity County. That area, when I was a sophomore, there was a huge migration from all over the world there. Those are the people that started really growing weed. And my friends too, but there was even more people after them. Once they figured out how to do it, and it's so far away from everything, apparently. But then the feds discovered it pretty quickly. And it was ground zero for fucking every kind of federal agency and state agency attacking I'm thinking I was up in Dunsmuir in a band, and we were having a rehearsal, and we took a break, and one of our friends from Mendocino we're watching television, and all of a sudden they have a news flash, and they're having a huge federal raid, and he looks at the TV and he sees his gate, which they had to go through to get to their next door neighbor. Their next door neighbors all went to jail. And that year they had gotten paranoid and didn't grow any. So they were the only ones that didn't get raided. Because they were gone. They weren't there that summer. He was working
They
summer.
like, go through their property.
They had to go through, but they see the federal agents going through their property on the raid. It was like and that was in the 70s. So it's been a long time.
Yeah.
And people do it, and then they get sick of it. I bailed tons of times. Well, stress. You know, you're like America's Most Wanted. They don't care about. They weren't thinking about. We're the terrorists. We're the Taliban. We're the. You know, we're the guys they're after. For a long, long time. They didn't give a shit about anything else. They're collaborating with the cocaine guys, and they're attacking us. You know, Noriega and all those guys. The CIA's dumping thousands of tons of coke all over everywhere and disrupting everything, but they're after us. Just dumping it on California particularly, but everywhere else. That's the federal government guys. Oliver North. And meanwhile, we're criminals, and they're throwing tons of friends of mine. Now, we've been fairly lucky. Not always. I'd already been in prison in Mexico, Operation Intercept, so I kind of was a lot more wary of that kind of thing. I was already been targeted and lectured by the State Department, had my head shaved by the Mexicans.
Really?
So we were a lot more cautious. A lot of people were just, you know. And there was a time when you didn't have to be so cautious, and then all of a sudden everybody got busted. So it's like my friends. They just felt it coming, and everyone was, you know, had so many good years, you know. That was long ago. There was millions. There's ancient history, but it was one of their first things that they probably had a little tiny bit of weed too. Feds came in acting like it was billion. So we're the Taliban. We might as well have been building smart bombs in our basement. The way they acted, and the amount of firepower, helicopters, flak suits, machine guns. Seriously.
Yeah.
So. It wears you out.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and they were still doing that. They've done that even not that long ago. They've done stores around here. But, been all across the country, and I meet these young guys. And they don't care. And they'll do it right there in some deep South state where it's just, you wouldn't believe it. And they'll do it anyway. And keep going, even if they get thrown in jail. We smoke weed, we don't care. And they're not even, and we're not talking about, you know, OxyContin freaks. We're just talking about people, good old boys growing weed out in the mountains. It's an agricultural product. It's food.
Yeah.
Now we can get hemp seeds at the store. Healthy heart food. Hemp oil. I'm being interviewed. Can I be interviewed further?
What?
I'm being interviewed. Okay, so look. We got this in Torrance, of all places.
Yeah.
Hemp oil.
I use hemp soap also. I get that all the time.
Yeah, we use all hemp products. We need those.
Yeah.
Why this was ever illegal is beyond my comprehension, except for they want you to take cottonseed or something stupid that's not even edible, or canola,
Right.
which is, you know, fuel oil.
Okay, yeah, so because you mentioned the global warming, and I know like the Northern California wildfires, like, I heard fucked up a lot of people's like grow ops and stuff. And
Oh, absolutely. Oh shit, no shit. It wiped some of the main that's why there's a lot of conspiracy theories, because they pretty much have wiped out most of the growing areas of Northern California, Sonoma, Mendocino. All those huge fires, ironically, started in big growing areas. And I'm not talking about because of their electrical grid blew up, though. The thing is I don't think that it was intentional. I think it's more like the grid isn't built sturdy enough to withstand 90-mile-an-hour winds. They've never had hurricanes before. That's all it is. In an area that's drying out because of global warming there. Yeah, but it did impact it. Lots of people were wiped out. But can grow it again.
Right. Yeah.
It's just that corporate America, meantime, has taken over and they've got the giant. But how long are we going to be able to have? How many more nuclear power plants do we need to grow indoor? You know, everybody thinks it's. Okay, here's something I notice. The weed that I've seen from the clubs is not cured very well, and it tastes like chemicals, and that expanding, burning feeling that it makes your flush isn't really good. Fucking grief. I'm being interviewed. Can you call me back?
We're almost done.
Hey,
We're almost done. Shut up. 27 minutes left. I don't need to talk that much. My drink is almost empty.
all right.
Okay, that's.
All right, you got power supply.
Excuse me, I'm being interviewed. Can I get done with this interview? Everyone's calling me.
Yeah, bye.
Okay, bye.
Okay.
Sorry, my phone never stops
Yeah.
ringing all day long.
No, it's all good.
Okay, so they can plant hemp all over. Regardless of weed, they can plant hemp in the Amazon rainforest. The only reason they don't plant hemp and save the planet is because the oil companies don't want them to, because it would compete. Because once they did that, they won't need the fucking oil companies. We have food, fiber, we can get stoned, we don't need to drink as much, or we can make booze out of it. We can do everything with it. We need it. It'll save the world. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Cannabis in all forms is the basis of the United States. Before they had cotton, they were all growing. George Washington was growing. They were growing cannabis. Cotton is not a good product. Cannabis, you can make cannabis clothes that last for hundreds of years. Cotton falls apart. Year or two and it's breaks apart. It's crummy fiber
Yeah.
and healthy heart food. They could save the planet with it. We can reverse global. I don't know if we can reverse what it is, but we can mitigate it a lot just by planting cannabis everywhere in the whole world. Amazon rainforest grows quickly. Put strains that you don't have to grow. Our little.
Start scattering seeds.
They can do it. Yeah, that's what I think. Cannabis is going to save the world. That's what I believe. If they don't blow it up first. But it's our fault that it's illegal. The United States is to blame. Us make it. Nobody else did. We are. So overgrow the government.